It is July 8th, 2024, and we are less than 4 months away from the next presidential election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And in today's video, we're going to be filling out an updated monthly map of the polls in all 50 states. Before we get into that, let's first go over the polls between Trump and Biden in the popular vote. And right now, Trump is at almost an all-time high of 3.4 percentage points after his great performance in the debate. And ever since, that point and after the debate and leading up to it, he has been increasing his popular vote margin by quite a considerable amount. And Joe Biden has definitely fallen to one of his lowest points. And this raises the question about whether the Democrats are planning on replacing Joe Biden or if they're planning on keeping him as their candidate. But in today's video, we're not going to be discussing that. As we can see here also in the five-way race, Trump leads by 5 percentage points. But we're going to be going over the polls in all 50 states. We're going to begin on the West Coast and go east. And we can see here that Real Clear Politics has made a map for us and shows us all the competitive states and in states that are more safe. We're going to be going over all of them. We're going to begin with the states of Alaska and Hawaii. No surprise here. This one will be going into the safe state for Donald Trump by a little bit, and the state of Hawaii will be going into the safe margin for Democrats. If we're going to go back here, and I'll show you guys the state of Alaska, we're going to see here that there are not any polls added here on Real Clear Politics, but the polls that are added, have been a lot closer than usual, but still in that safe column. Moving over to California, where it will still be a 21-point margin, considerably down from almost that 30-point margin in 2020. The states of Oregon and Washington will be safe as well, but a lot less safe than usual. Oregon will barely be in that safe column, and the state of Washington will actually be in the likely column. None of these polls actually have it in the safe column. Very surprising, because Biden won the state by 20 percentage points in the last election. Moving over to a lot of these other safer states, they do not really have much polls in them, so we're putting in the safe column. Montana does have a couple, but it's still going to be going in the safe column. Same with Kansas, but still in that safe column. So all of these states up here will be going easily in Donald Trump's safe column. And except the 2nd District of Maine, of which there are a couple polls. All in all, Biden is up by a narrow amount, by a lean amount. So next we'll be going over some competitive states in the southwest part of the country. First of all, the state of Nevada, probably one of the most key flips for Donald Trump. I will be using the five-way race when it is available, and right now Donald Trump leads by 5.2%. So this will be going in the lean column, pretty close to the likely, but not quite. Next, moving over to the state of Arizona, another keen flip for Donald Trump. He leads over here in the state of Arizona by 6.4%, and it's been a very, very consistent lead, and this will actually put the state in the likely margin for Donald Trump. Moving over to the state of Colorado, a state that Joe Biden won by a considerable safe margin. This time around, barely in that likely column. However, it will still fall over that 6-point margin. The state of New Mexico also should be experiencing a little bit of a decrease. Right now, the polls still keep it in that likely margin, so we will put it there. And the last state to complete the western half of the United States will be the state of Texas, a state that Democrats really are trying to eye up in previous elections to try to get, a state that they do usually get, a state that's been trending left. But this time around, Trump leads by the same margins that he has been leading in the 2016 race. And this goes probably back another 12 years because Republicans haven't really seen this margin in quite a long time. So seeing Trump win by almost 10 percentage points according to the polls would be a huge, huge win for them. Moving over now to the eastern part of the country. Let's first go over the South. Going over a lot of these safe states over here, they will not really be competitive, and not much of them have too many polls. So all of these will be going in that safe column. South Carolina has a couple polls where Trump leads by 16, an increase from his previous win. So all of these states over here will be going in that safe column, as well as the state of Indiana. If we check the state of Indiana, we can see that there is a couple polls and Trump leads by larger margins, a little bit than what we won in the 2020 election. Next, we're going to be moving to a couple states that are competitive in the South. This is a good part where Donald Trump is performing really well. And first, in the state of Florida, he leads by 7.6%, a lot larger than his 3.5 win in the 2020 election. and a lot larger also than his 2016 win. This puts it in a likely margin for him. One of the most important states, the state of Georgia, which flipped to Democrats in 2020 and now looks to flip back to Republicans in the lean column. This will be a 5-point margin for Donald Trump. Moving up to the state of North Carolina, another state that Republicans must hold on to win the presidency, and it seems like this time around they will be doing so by even up to 7.7%, which actually puts the state in the likely margin for Donald Trump. Moving up to probably the most important region in this election, it will be the Midwest, beginning with a couple more safe states. The state of Illinois will not really be safe at all. However, these polls actually do indicate the margin being closer. This will actually fall under that 12-point margin and be considered a likely state. The states of Ohio and Iowa, which both have been previously considered, toss-up states, but Donald Trump won handily, are expected to continue to trend right. Iowa is almost on that margin to be considered safe, but not quite, 11.5%. Similar with Ohio being at 10.7%. These states here are not really competitive anymore and would both be going into the likely column. Before we cap up these 4 Rust Belt states, let's go back south to the state of Virginia, where we see here a lot tighter than the 2020 election. If we recall, Joe Biden was able to almost double Clinton's margin from 2016 to 2020. A lot of people thought this state was gone, but we see here a lot of polls now have it tied or Biden with a narrow lead. This will go barely, almost in that tilt column, but stay in the lean column. Next up, moving to the state of Minnesota, a state that Biden gained quite a considerable amount from Hillary Clinton, but once again, like Virginia, looks like it's going to be a little bit closer. This will go in the lean column for Joe Biden. Before we continue on this video, please like and subscribe. Please comment down all your suggestions in the section below. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. Everyone, please subscribe and hit that bell. Thank you guys so much for all the feedback. Next, we will be moving to the state of Wisconsin. This is one of the closest races in the 2020 election. Right now, Donald Trump does have a 1.5% margin. In the 5-way race, Trump has a 1% margin. This will be going in the tilt column, where Donald Trump would narrowly flip back the state according to the polls. It's very similar across, most of these Rust Belt states where Donald Trump, according to the polls, will be narrowly flipping them. We can see here once again in Michigan, it is a complete tie. But since Trump does lead in that 2-way race, it will be going in the tilt column for him. And in Pennsylvania, actually, this is probably, according to the polls, the most favorable state for Republicans is looking at, as he leads by 5.3 percentage points in the 2-way and 3 percentage points in the 5-way. Either way, this would be going into that lean column. And it is surprising that Pennsylvania seems to be voting to the right of Wisconsin, but we'll have to see what happens there. We're going to be going now to the Northeast, which is mostly going to be some safe Democrat states. I'm not going to really go over too much of these because either there aren't really polls or they're just going to be safe either way. I will highlight a few that we need to go over. Some of these states are going to be a lot closer than usual, beginning with New Jersey. One poll added to Real Clear Politics has it only at a 7-point margin. This will be going into that likely column. The other state that is worth going over in the Northeast would be the state of New York, which is also projected to be a likely margin. Let's remember, Donald Trump lost the state by 23 percentage points in 2020. So if this ends up happening and there are a lot of polls to back it up, it will be a pretty bad, disastrous night for the Democrats. I think the Democrats are going to end up winning by a safe margin, but a lot of people can say that it will actually vote in that likely margin. We'll just have to wait and see. Moving on to the state of New Hampshire, the newest poll by a pretty reliable pollster actually has Trump up by 2. Still, though, Joe Biden does lead the aggregate by 3 percentage points, and he does lead most of the polls by a narrow amount. This will be going into that lean column for Joe Biden. And then moving up to the final state, the state of Maine, I expect it to also be a lot closer than the previous. If we combine all these polls together, even though these are much older, we're going to have to combine all of them together, and it'll come out to a lean margin for Joe Biden, in which this 2nd district is going to be safe for Donald Trump. And this is what our map's going to be. our polling map according to Real Clear Politics. Donald Trump 312, Joe Biden 226. And this is very similar to my presidential prediction, apart from, a couple margins here and there. But every state here is pretty much agreed and correlates with my prediction. But this will be today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, comment down in the section below, and I'll check you guys out in the next one.